9/11 occurred maybe because of the Palestinian dispute. Al-Qaeda, presence of Al-Qaeda is also maybe to quite an extent due to the Palestinian dispute. The other political dispute I would highlight very much is the Kashmir dispute. This is also festering since over 6 decades now. There was a United Nations resolution of 1948 which remains unimplemented. We, that is India and Pakistan, have fought 3 wars because of the Kashmir dispute. And may I say I've been a part of 2 of the wars. The much maligned names of Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed have come about because of the Kashmir dispute. Then when we travel further, in the last 3 decades, all over the world, we saw genocide in Bosnia and Kosovo. We saw conflict and we still are seeing conflict in Afghanistan. We saw the upheaval in Chechnya and the blunder in Iraq. If we take stock of all this that I have said, this all is happening in the Muslim world. The Muslims happen to be at the receiving end in all of them. And therefore, this is the root cause of terrorism and extremism within the Muslim world. And it leads to interfaith disharmony. And may I also add here, it leads to a double jeopardy. Within the Muslims, there is a feeling, there is a perception that Islam and Muslims are being targeted by design. And within the non-Muslim world, there is a perception that Islam, our religion, is a religion of extremism and terrorism. Both are wrong. This is the issue of political disputes leading to interfaith disharmony. Very, very briefly, may I say this is the cause, the root cause of terrorism and extremism. Let me come to terrorism and extremism itself. This is a menace for the whole world, there is no doubt, and we have to defeat it, whatever it costs. I'm going to focus on South Asia because I think everything is happening in South Asia. And in order to do this, I would like to trace again, very briefly, the history of the region, especially the region of Afghanistan and Pakistan's tribal agencies from 1979 onwards, for the last 30 years. This is important to understand and then draw deductions from it. I'm going to divide this into 3 periods. And within these 3 periods of 30 years, we committed 3 blunders en route, which I'm going to highlight. First period is 1979 to 1989. 10 years where after the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, we launched a jihad in Afghanistan. When I say we, it is United States, the West, and Pakistan in the lead role. We called it a jihad. We brought 25 to 30,000 mujahideen from all over the Muslim world to fight a jihad against the Soviets. We armed them and pumped them into Afghanistan. We trained Taliban, armed them, trained them, and pumped them into Afghanistan to fight a jihad against Soviets. For 10 years, for a whole decade we did this. What happened now, I just want to highlight few important elements of each period. In this period, ladies and gentlemen, monarchy was deposed by the Soviet Union. And in this, why I'm highlighting about monarchy, if you see 2 or 3 centuries of the colonial period of this region, Afghanistan was held together through I call it a national covenant or a socio-political compact, we can call it, where all the ethnic groups of Afghanistan, the Tajiks, Uzbeks, Hazaras, Pakhtuns, the four major groups, decided to remain together under the sovereignty of the king. And they called this the Misaq-e-Milli, the national covenant. Unfortunately, in 1979, with the deposition of the king, this glue which held them together, the Misaq-e-Milli, was destroyed. That is the important point to note. The second important point to note, in this period of 10 years, the elites of Afghanistan fled the country, and the freedom struggle was led by the religious militant groups for 10 years. The elites ran to Europe and United States. So these are the 2 points that I thought I must bring out. This is what happened in those 10 years. Then comes the period of 1989 to 2001, up to 9/11, 12 years. I call it the period of disaster for this region and Pakistan. We were left high and dry. United States and everyone left the region. There was warlordism which started in Afghanistan. They ravaged the country, each one fighting each other. But the important point, that the 25,000-30,000 mujahideen, the well-trained fighters, were holed up there. No resettlement, no rehabilitation. They only knew how to fight, and they were armed to the teeth. First big blunder committed, that we didn't rehabilitate or resettle them. And they were there holed up. And they coalesced into Al-Qaeda. Then in 1995 or 96, Taliban emerged. And when Taliban emerged, the issue of their recognition, Pakistan was the only country which recognized the Taliban and opened a mission in Afghanistan. And we were admonished. Let me confide with you that the first time I met President Bill Clinton was in 2000, when he was admonishing Pakistan for having relations with Taliban. And my opinion was, I said, Mr. President, we ought to have a different strategy. I would recommend that the whole world should recognize them, open your missions, and let us change them from within. But that was not agreed. I think that was the second blunder. Had we had about 100 missions in Afghanistan, I think we could have saved the Buddha statue, and we may have even averted the problem of Osama bin Laden, because there would have been 100 missions all threatening to quit if the Taliban did anything stupid. But when Pakistan was alone and the issue of Buddha statue came up, the Prime Minister of Japan, the Prime Minister of Thailand, and the President of Sri Lanka rang me up to save the Buddha statue. And I said, now I'm alone, I'll try my best. And I could not manage. So this was the second blunder. Then with this, ladies and gentlemen, at the same time in 1989, the Kashmir freedom struggle started. And this Kashmir freedom struggle had mass public sympathy in Pakistan. It led to the emergence of independent mujahideen groups, mercenaries wanting to go into Kashmir to fight with the Kashmiris.